vocational education. And I will now recognize Senator Comerford.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I really appreciate it. Chair Peisch, Chair Lewis, and members of the committee. I'm going to speak now in support of S.295 and H.558, an act establishing a special education funding reform commission. In this, Chair Peisch, I am tremendously glad and grateful for the partnership of Representative Dan Perry on this legislation and this work. This bill, or shared bills, establish a special education funding reform commission to recommend reforms to the Commonwealth's current special education funding formula, focusing on creating a more equitable funding system that enables local school districts to provide high quality education to all students who are living with disabilities. I honor and commend this committee's leadership in making strides to address education funding inequities with the passage of the Student Opportunity Act, which was a monumental victory. However, despite SOA gains, funding inequities can still be seen across the state in districts that have in-district special education enrollments greater than the current assumption of 16%. The result is insufficient resources to meet the educational needs of students and acute municipal financial burden. It's worth noting that all of the public school districts in the 24 cities and towns that I represent have special education enrollment rates above 16%. For example, for the Orange School District, it's 29.4% of the population that is requiring special education services. And in Gil-Montague, that Gil-Montague district, 24.5% of students receiving special education services in that district. And in these and in many other communities statewide, funding for special education is quite insufficient. The proposed legislation establishes a process to identify, quantify, and suggest ways that we rectify these inequities. I've seen some of the passionate written testimony you've received from municipal officials and school committee members and educators. In a letter from Orange, officials write that when they have to accommodate higher special education costs, they must cut elsewhere. Quote, "When we cut our budget, we are not cutting out any fat or excess. It's our arms and legs that they cut." With your leadership, the state has made exceeding strides in pushing forward school funding reforms that have helped students throughout the Commonwealth. These reforms I'm suggesting today must now include special education. S.295 and H.558 can get us there by establishing a common factual foundation and then building consensus on solutions. As much as our cities and towns are crying for change, and they are in my district, I can tell you, it's the students and their families who would be most benefited by this bill. I respectfully urge the committee to report out favorably on S.295 and H.558. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any questions for the Senator? Seeing none, we thank you for your testimony, and we will now open